All right. What's up with this RFK Jr. pick? What do you know about RFK Jr.? I have had the experience of having heard him speak several times in person, and I'll always be a skeptic of new arrivals, but the things he says about our food, about our medical industry, about the pharmaceutical industry in this country, they're pretty powerful. And this is not some dummy who doesn't know what he's talking about. He's clearly very well researched, but I bet Jennifer Galardi knows a bit more about him than I do. Joining me now, culture, health, and policy writer, my friend Jennifer Galardi. Okay, Jennifer, RFK Jr., is he just some 70-year-old chiseled quack, or does this guy know what he's talking about?
Well, the proof is always in the pudding, right? You look at this guy and he's 70, and I'm like, he's pretty hot for 70. I mean, I'd rather have him than Rachel Levine, a man who thinks she's a woman, in charge of our health and in charge of our health policy. So that's one thing. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. You didn't have to jump over a very high bar there. But I understand the concerns when it comes to alternative therapies maybe and what RFKJ is selling and non-Western medical practices. It's a little bit of a wild, wild west out there. It's not regulated. There are quite a few quacks, and he may come across as that to some people. You've got Joe Rogans of the world espousing psychedelics, which I'm highly doubtful of. The Andrew Hubermans of the world talking about some crazy stuff to make sure all the Huber dads live until they're 130 years old. And, people are like, this is nuts. So I understand that skepticism. And that's also taken out of context with people who don't understand this like comprehensive, holistic landscape of health and just kind of attack everything with the same tool. And I've been in this arena for almost 2 decades, and I still wish there was someone there that would just tell me what to do and what I should and shouldn't eat. But there's some things he's nailing, which are the additives in our food. There are definitely things we could be doing better with our food supply. We can get the red 40 out of food. We can follow better agricultural practices. We can definitely get the subsidies out of agriculture. The crops such as sugar, corn, wheat, all of these were heavily subsidized by the government, which kind of caused this explosion in junk food. They had to put that corn somewhere, so they made corn syrup. These seed oils and things that were never in foods before. My friend sent me an Instagram post today that put side by side ice cream in probably the 70s, and then ice cream now, the same brand. And ice cream back then was cream, sugar, milk, and vanilla, whatever kind of flavoring you want. Now it's a list of 50 ingredients. So there's something going on there to look at. And I think RFK has, even if he didn't get this appointment, just the awareness he's brought to this is really important. So unfortunately, the overextension of government did start this problem with kind of creating these junk foods and this addiction to junk food that we now have, which causes all sorts of sickness. Just obesity is the number one thing. But you can't necessarily solve the problem with the same thing that created it, right? So more government regulation, I think. This is where I'm a little cautious with RFKJ. I don't know that more government regulation is the solution. What I'd like to see is deregulation, get the government out of agriculture, get the subsidies out, return power to the people. That's what this whole administration is about, right? Get government out of the way so then we have the opportunity to flourish. And I think there has to be an appetite for health. People have to now demand health. And I think that's what this is about, and the MAHA movement's about, is that we're now demanding health, and then we actually have to follow through. I think that's true for the whole Trump presidency. We've now been unburdened by what has been, so to speak. Trump now, I know I felt a little lighter after the last time we talked, which was the night of the election. I woke up, I was so excited, but now we actually have to do the work, and people are going to have to do the work to invest in their own health.
Jennifer, what do you think about that killer of the United Healthcare guy being Italian?
Listen now, that's kind of the way it goes. The Italian. That's a stereotype. But this is interesting because you mentioned the healthcare. This guy's obviously a healthcare CEO, right? And the manifesto from this killer, now we know more, he's really upset that the healthcare system is not properly addressing people. But you've got this behemoth that has everything to do with keeping people sick than flourishing health. And you're going to get frustrations in that. I think the timing was completely ill-timed of these people who are applauding, this maniac who killed the CEO of the healthcare company. But we do need to do something about the system, because right now it's just this never-ending circle of pharmaceuticals, diagnosis, more pharmaceuticals, side effects, more pharmaceuticals to treat those. So, that's my take.
Plus, he was Italian. All right, let's go back to RFK Jr. And you mentioned, all the quackery that's out there. You're much more in tune with, I don't know, the healing crystals and chakra weirdo Indian stuff. I don't even know what all this stuff is. How much of this stuff is he all about? Look, again, you get an internet caricature of somebody is not necessarily true. Is this a guy who rejects all traditional medicine? What is he?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's where the media gets it wrong. And of course, they're going to do that, just like they're going to crush him. If they're crushing Pete Hegseth, they're going to crush this guy in his personal life. But, he's a disruptor. He's a disruptor of the system, just like Pete Hegseth will be, and just like Trump kind of had promised. But he's not saying abolish vaccinations. We need to do more research. Just like take Ozempic. There are no long-term studies about Ozempic, and now it's being pushed through kind of Medicare to be covered by Medicare and governmental agencies. So I just think there needs to be an honest examination of the agencies, how they work together. And you pull on the string of this, and you also get to education. How are we educating our kids about health, instead of treating them like these little robots that need to learn math and science, which they do? They need to learn how to read and write, but they also need to know how to be good human beings. I don't even know if you can say this anymore. Home ec. Can you bring that? Can we say home ec? I'm not sure what we would call it in politically correct language, but we need to bring home ec back into the curriculum. Obviously, physical education back into the curriculum. These kids, you put a 14-year-old boy in a seat for 6 hours a day, of course he's going to go crazy. That kid needs to punch something, throw something, run something out. We're not treating children, and we're not treating people as kind of human beings. We're treating them as these autonomous little soldiers.
Yeah, we do need to bring home ec back. That was where all the chicks were. I loved home ec when I was in high school. Okay, so let's talk about these dyes. Like you mentioned, red dye 40 or whatever this weird crap is, but it didn't used to be there. So how does that come from regulation? I want you to explain to me who decided to start putting this dye crap in my Twinkies.
I mean, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories out there. What it was, that it came from, I believe, something that was manufactured for weapons, and then they needed to do something with it, and they figured out they could turn it into a food dye and sell it and put it into foods to make it more addictive, or to make it more appealing to children. It really does. That bright dye is not normal. So that's a marketing thing. Again, I don't like to comment on the kind of conspiracy theories about this came from the Department of Defense. And, I don't know about that. That's not my area of expertise. But I can tell you, marketing wise, it was used definitely to make these foods more appealing, a lot of times, to children.
Kids are dumb too. They'll believe that. Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.